Hello, my name is Jim Dice. I'm one of the registered nurses owners here at Twin Oaks Home Care, and welcome to the mandatory staff meeting. Today is April the 9th, 2013. It's our spring staff meeting. We have 8 items on the agenda. You should have the agenda for today. The first item on the agenda is our policy review, and under there's 10 areas, lettered A through J. And what we always start every year with a policy review, and there's a right way to do things and there's a wrong way to do things. Most of the time we're doing it right, but there are some times whenever we don't get it 100% right, so I would consider that wrong. The first item on the agenda is our call-offs. Call-offs should occur, but they should occur a certain way. There should be an 8-hour notice whenever an employee has to call off. Maybe once a year or even twice a year. You may not be able to give us an 8-hour notice, but that shouldn't happen every time a person calls off. So the right way to do it would be to make sure that we had an 8-hour notice. That allows us, enough time to get someone else to go to the patient's house so that we can stay dependable. And then the right way would be, after a call-off, would be to get the written notice into our office, which is the Hopwood address, the P.O. Box 113 Hopwood, PA 15445. Get that in within 3 business days. So either, if you're in this area, you drop it off between 9 and 4, Monday through Friday. If not, you can just drop it in the mail. We do save those. We keep them on your chart. If you're able to get that written excuse into us, then it doesn't count against you. Employees are only permitted to have 2 unexcused absences a year and only 1 within their first 90 days of employment. So it's better that you, because you don't know what the future holds, it's better for you to, when you have those written excuses, to get them in. The second item is letter B, special requests. There are still a lot of questions about, how do I make a special request? When do I make a special request? Special request, in order for us to guarantee you a day off, should be made 14 days in advance, anytime before that. Now, you could call us 3 months ahead of time and say, hey, I have a wedding, this day, this month, and I need to have that day off. Okay, that's fine, no problem. We'll go ahead, we'll mark it in the book here at the office, and then when the week ahead of time, whenever we're going to do the schedule, we'll pull that book out and say, okay, this person can't work this day. We'll put an SR in your box for that day, and then you won't be scheduled that day. If summertime's coming up here, people are going to want to be taking, a whole week off at a time. That's fine. Vacation time, if you special request a week, is a 7-day period, Sunday to Saturday, or Saturday to Saturday. However, your vacation is set up that you need that time off. The other thing under special request is we need to make sure that only 1 employee in a house gets a special request day off at a time. If there's only 3 girls that go to the house, or only 2 girls that go to one house, because our patients don't like to see different faces every day, and one employee puts in for a special request, I can't grant the other 2 a special request on that same day. We still have to be dependable to our employees. So those normally are first come, first served, and once you make your special request known to the office, management will review it and will approve or not approve your special request for you. I can honestly say 99% of the time those get approved without any questions. Letter C, notes in the patient's homes. Just a reminder, any note that you leave in a patient's home must be pre-approved and signed by the employee. Letter D, times that we're signing in and out. This is still a big one. I need everyone to understand that times must be accurate. There are no exceptions to this rule. If someone were to purposefully sign in and out an inaccurate time, that's considered welfare fraud and it's a criminal offense. And an employee that does that on purpose would be terminated from our company immediately. When you're adjusting your times in the patient's home, say they send you home a half hour early, you're supposed to be there at 3 and they send you home at 2:30. That's fine, but the rule is you have to call our office before you leave the patient's house. That way, the main schedule here in the office will match what you're writing down on your monthly time flow sheet in the house. Also, one of the things that I haven't said in a while, but this is a reminder also, employees cannot adjust their schedule without notifying the office. If the patient says to you, and you talk to the patient, you have an appointment in the morning, instead of coming 10 to 2, maybe you want to come 12 to 4. You can't tell the patient that or ask the patient that. That has to go through the office. Even though you're there at the house with the patient, you would still call the office and say, hey, tomorrow is it okay if I have an appointment in the morning, can we adjust my time back 2 hours? We'll still work the 4-hour shift. We're just going to move it back 2 hours. All that takes is communication to the office. Letter E, callbacks. I've noticed recently that when we have a problem or a question here at the office and we're calling employees, I'm not hearing back from the employees until the next day. I want everyone to know that what my expectations are. My expectations are if I call you or I text you and I get your voicemail or I get your answering machine at your home, I expect a phone call back to the office within 1 to 2 hours. I don't think it should take longer than that. I had a situation where one of the girls, her phone broke, and we tried to call her on a Sunday, and she didn't call me back till Monday, but she never thought, she was using her mom's phone, never thought she needed to call our office and let us know that she had a new number. Well, we tried to get a hold of her on Sunday, left a couple messages, didn't talk to her until Monday. If your phone number changes, even if it changes on a weekend, call that new number into our office. I have listed here that communication is also a #1 priority. Everyone knows, and I've said this for years, our #1 priority is safety in the patient's home. Safety for the patient, safety for the employees, and we're going to get to that here in a minute. But communication is part of that safety, because if we can't communicate back and forth, if you're in a home, there's a problem, you can't communicate, then we can't solve a lot of the safety issues that we deal with. So the thought that came to mind to me this morning is we can only be as good as we communicate. So if our company is going to be the best home care company out there, we have to be the best communicators back and forth to our employees and to our clients. That's how I feel about it, and my expectations are when I'm trying to get a hold of you, maybe you don't, maybe it's just we have a question about a patient in a home. If I need to know something, I need to know it pretty quickly. Normally within an hour or two would be adequate. Letter F, next. Clients on a patient's floor, we are still not permitted to pick a patient up off the floor. There is still a $200 fine for any employee that does not follow this policy. I do not want an employee getting hurt. I do not want you to drop a patient and get hurt. There are some families that don't want us to call the ambulance to pick them up. That's fine, but the family has to do it, not us. Normally, if the patient's on the floor, you walk in, they're on the floor, or if they happen to slide onto the floor while you're there, which should almost never happen. Normally we'll call the ambulance, and the ambulance will come. There are 2 of them that come out, and they will pick the patient up off the floor. That way, my employee's not hurting their shoulder or their neck or their back or dropping the patient and causing any further injury to the patient. Let's see, letter G, incident reporting. There are incidents and injuries that occur in a patient's home. Those must be reported immediately to the office, including a change in the patient's condition. And there's a whole sheet that's available here at the office on incidences, such as needle sticks or a bee sting, or a paper cut or a tear or a fall. All of those things, or anything that's out of the ordinary, anything that is not what you expected it to be that occurs in a home, should be called into the office. Letter H, this is our cell phone policy. Again, this is a review, and this just changed 6 months ago. Our cell phones, home health aides, must be turned off whenever you are working in a patient's home. Off completely, not on vibrate. If we need to communicate with you, we will call the patient's home to reach you. We had situations that have happened here at the company recently where employees have been on their cell phones, they're playing games on their cell phones or texting on their cell phones, they're getting personal phone calls on their cell phones. Those shouldn't be happening. That is stealing the patient's time that we're there to be providing care to them. If there's an emergency with one of your children or at your house with anything there at your house that could go wrong, including your spouse or boyfriend or girlfriend, everyone there should have our office number so that if there is a situation that occurs where they need to get a hold of you, they are to call our office. Our office will contact you and give you the information. If you need to make a phone call at that time, we'll allow you to do that. If you need to leave for a reason, then you would have to call our office back. We would get someone else over to the house to relieve you. If you had to go, say there was a sick kid at school, that happens, and that's how we handle it. That's our policy on how we handle emergencies in employees' homes whenever they're at work. But make sure that the cell phone is turned off. I don't want to hear any more complaints from patients or families or physicians at offices whenever we're helping people to the doctors that, my employee was on the cell phone. That shouldn't occur. Next is letter I, employee schedules. Still just a reminder, don't call our office on Wednesdays for your schedule. We will call you on Wednesdays for the schedule. If you haven't gotten your schedule by Thursday, then you are permitted to call our office on Thursday. There's just way too many calls that are going out on Wednesdays for me to have 110 employees calling in to the office on Wednesdays. So please call on Thursday. J, light housekeeping. Next to safety in the patient's home and communication, the most important thing that we do in a patient's home is housekeeping. Everybody wants housekeeping done, doesn't matter what house you go to. It's going to keep the environment safe by doing the housekeeping, preventing falls. It's going to keep the bacteria levels down in the kitchen and in the bathroom, preventing infections. So it's extremely important that we do the housekeeping. Not only is it important to know what to do in a patient's home, sweep, dust, vacuum, damp mop, cleaning off the counters, once a week, the appliances, once a week the bathroom. Unless you visibly see, unless you see that something is visibly dirty, you want to clean it then. You don't want to say, okay, well, we clean the bathroom every Friday and it's dirty on Tuesday. You don't want to wait till Friday. But just as important as knowing what to do, it's just as important to know what not to do. We are not permitted to stand on anything to clean. We are not permitted to get on our hands and knees to clean. And we are also not permitted to move any heavy furniture in a patient's house. That's part of your safety. If you're standing on things and you're cleaning, you could slip, trip, or fall off of something. I don't want that ever. If you're down on your hands and knees cleaning, you could pull something in your back. I don't want that ever. If you are moving and pushing heavy furniture to clean, you could hurt something in your shoulder or your back or your leg. I don't ever want that to happen. So, as a rule of thumb, we don't stand on anything to clean, get on our hands and knees to clean, and we don't move any heavy furniture, period. If a patient asks you to do those things, what you need to say is, you know what, let me call the office and let me check with them to see if it's okay. And you're going to take that ball out of your hand, you're going to put it in our hand, and then we're going to deal with that issue for you. Okay, number 2, moving on. Home care safety, of course, that is the number 1 priority. Hand washing is right there at the top of the list. We wash our hands when we first get there. We wash our hands before we leave because we don't want to take anything with us. We wash our hands before we make a meal for a patient. We wash our hands before and after any wound care. We wash our hands after we help a patient toileting, whether it's to the commode, bedside commode, or assisting with diapers, bedpans, urinals. And then we wash our hands if the employee sneezes or coughs or touches their face. If you touch your face in the patient's home, you should then go to the sink and wash your hands. Letter B, under number 2, home care safety, is principles of body mechanics. Again, that's keeping you safe. Carry objects that are heavy close to your body. You need to stand erect when you're standing. Takes that additional pressure off of your back. You want to raise surfaces, your work surface. You don't want to be, bending over on the floor, folding laundry. You want to have a table or something set up to where you are standing erectly and folding clothes, moving clothes over. You want to avoid lifting things from the floor. You want to bend your knees. Whenever you're lifting something, you don't want to just bend your back only. That's going to put additional pressure there. And that's more of like a chronic type illness or injury where you keep doing it, and it's okay the first couple of times you do it, but by the 10th or 11th or 12th time you do it, that's when it starts to hurt and ache, and you go home and you have just an ache pain in your lower back. We're trying to prevent that. Keep your shoulders up. If you're going to push something, push it near the center. And if you're going to be assisting a patient up in bed, you never want to do it from the side. You want to get at the head of the bed, elevate the feet, lower the head, use a draw sheet, get your hands up underneath the shoulders. You want to pull them downhill towards you from the head of the bed. Letter C is fire and electrical safety. There are fires that happen in patients' homes. We don't ever want that to happen in ours, but it can. There are times when we can prevent those things. If you're looking around the house, you see receptacles that are damaged, you see receptacles that are maybe loose and hanging out of the wall, you see too many things are plugged into a receptacle, you may see cords that are plugged in that you can see the bare wires on. All of those things should be reported to the office so that we can help the patient take care of that. That's something that will start a fire in a patient's home, and I have seen a whole house burn completely to the ground and completely engulfed in 10 minutes. So fire spreads extremely quickly. It's something that if we can prevent it, I would prefer to do that than to try and get someone out of a house that's engulfed in flames. And the last one under number 2 is letter D. Fall safety. Make sure that we're using the right equipment in a patient's home. If the patient's supposed to be using a walker and they go to stand up and they say, oh, I'm not using that walker, and they want to use a cane instead, they're not using the right equipment. They have just doubled or tripled their chances of falling. Whenever they're getting up in the middle of the night or during the day using a bedside commode, instead of having a bedside commode across the room, the bedside commode should be right there beside them. Put an inch of water in the bottom of it, put a little bit of mouthwash in it or Pine Sol in it to keep that odor smelling fresh and clean. The other thing under fall prevention, not only making sure they're using the right equipment, but making sure that you are assisting them at the appropriate time. They may try to get up on their own, and they should have someone there with them. That's why earlier I said, a patient should never fall at a house when we're there with them. We should be with them. If they're using a walker, we should be behind them. We should be watching them. We should be walking close with them. If they're using a quad cane and maybe they have a strong side, their right side strong, they're using the quad cane, on their left side, we should be standing there. We should be holding under their arm, helping them ambulate, because their balance isn't great, and it's only a matter of time before they tip over and fall down. So if we can prevent that, we're going to prevent broken necks, we're going to prevent skull fractures, we're going to prevent broken hips, and when those things happen, the patient's going to the hospital. They're going to be in the hospital for the next, they're in nursing home rehab for the next 3 to 6 months. So that's 3 to 6 months that the employees aren't going to be scheduled at a patient's house, all because we didn't prevent them from falling. So let's do that when we can. Number 3, calling the office. We mentioned this at the last staff meeting. There's only one phone number that employees are allowed to call, and that is line 1. Line 1 is 724-438-1936 for local calls or cell phones. And line 2 is if you're at a patient's home and it's long distance, it's the 1-866-566-9214. They both ring at the same place. Don't ever call any of the back door numbers because whenever our office closes at 4 o'clock every day, that line 1 gets transferred to a cell phone, and our after hours on-call supervisor takes that cell phone with them throughout the evening and throughout the whole weekend. So that way, if you need to speak to us immediately, you can speak to us, but you have to only call line 1. Number 4, every year our insurance company makes sure that we cover our sexual harassment policy. I'm going to go ahead and read that to you at this time. No form of sexual harassment is tolerated by Twin Oaks Home Care. This includes physical and verbal sexual harassment, as well as sexual innuendos and tasteless or immoral jokes from employees, clients, or their family members. Twin Oaks Home Care will follow the disciplinary process if it's an employee that's involved in any incident. And depending upon the severity of the infraction, termination may be immediate. Disciplinary actions will be determined by Twin Oaks Home Care management. And there have been times whenever we've had an employee at a patient's house and the patient sexually harasses our employee. We will make sure that you let us know as soon as possible if that happens, or they say something that's like verbally sexually harassing. We will address that immediately. We'll do that, via a phone call to the patient, phone call to the family. If needed, I will even go to the house directly myself to make sure they understand that these things are not appropriate, not acceptable, they're against policy. I like to give them a warning once, unless it's a very severe infraction. I'll give them a warning, and then if it occurs again the second time, then it's immediate termination from our agency. So just so you know that when those problems or complaints come into our office here, we do handle those issues, and we handle them quickly, and we handle them the same way every time, the same steps. Here's the steps. This is the way it's laid out. Number 5, our Twin Oaks Home Care website, just so you know that it is still up, it's running. It's twinoakshomecare.com. If you know any elderly people in the community or their family that is looking for services, they can go there and they can find out all the information about our company, who we are, what we do, and how we do it. If you know someone that's looking for a job and you tell them to go to twinoakshomecare.com, they can get online and they can fill the application out right there online. And for any employee that you refer to us, in 6 months you let us know, we'll give you a $100 bonus. Number 6, we're almost done. We've got to go to 8. Employee schedule. Do not call the office for your schedule on Wednesday. We already covered that up above. Unless you're asked to do so, you are allowed to call the office on Thursday between 8 and 4. Very good. Number 7, attached to your agenda, you should see the 2013 pay calendar, because it is still the beginning of the year. We get paid on the 15th and the last day of the month. If those days fall on a Saturday, you'll get paid on a Friday. If they fall on a Sunday, you'll get paid on a Monday. If you still haven't gotten, we have direct deposit here. If you still haven't gotten your direct deposit information to us, or if you have one of the pay cards from Walmart or one of the other places that offer those, we need the accounting number and the routing number so that we can have your money direct deposited into your account. Whether it's a checking account, savings account, or one of those total pay cards. I want every employee at our company to have direct deposit. I don't want any checks lost in the mail. Before we went to direct deposit, we would mail out 100 checks every other week, and never failed. We would always have 2 or 3 of them where the employee didn't get them. So I don't ever want any employee to say, you know what, Twin Oaks Home Care, they were really bad about getting us paid. Well, it's not our fault if the post office doesn't do their job correctly. So if we can eliminate that altogether, we'll go with direct deposit. We've decided to do that. We've been doing it for several years now. It works great. And you know that your money will be there at the right time, and it'll be in the right place into your account. And the last thing we have is our insurance review. We still offer Aflac insurance. Anyone here that's interested in signing up for the Aflac insurance, all you have to do is let our office know. There's a gentleman, his name is Jerry Flung, P-F-L-U-N-G, and he will be coming in, and he will be also doing a video presentation for the employees as to who Aflac is, what they have to offer, and it's a great insurance to have, and it's also a very inexpensive insurance to have. I actually have it for myself. I have it for my family. And it's just pennies a day, just a couple dollars a pay. you would be surprised at how inexpensive it is. So I want to say thank you. We appreciate everything that our employees have done up to this point. We look forward to growing more over the summer. And if you have any questions or concerns or anything that you need to discuss about today's meeting, please see someone at the office or see myself. Thank you and have a good day. Bye-bye.